Hey everyone, in this video I'll teach you all the mechanics of the Exiled Redoubt dungeon that came out today. The dungeon is located in the eastern part of Westfield. It has 3 regular bosses, each with its own hard mode banner, and 3 secret bosses, which don't have hard modes and give you a passive buff once defeated. This guide is also already on my website, so if you prefer written guides over YouTube videos, you can read it instead. The link will be in the description. First boss you can encounter is the secret boss Guard Captain Paratius. Defeating him will grant you the bodyguard's protection buff, which saves you from death once every 10 minutes. His first mechanic is Power Bash, which is a heavy attack with a 1.4 second windup. Block or dodge roll it. Next is Shield Throw. Paratius targets a random player and throws a returning shield their way, which deals damage and stuns on the way out and back in. This ability's visual indicator is extremely desynchronized, so block or dodge roll even if you're slightly out of it. Next is Shield Charge. If a player stands far away from Paratius, he will charge at them, stunning them if the attack isn't blocked or dodge rolled. You can prevent Paratius from casting this ability by always staying near him. Next we have Skeleton Adds. Skeletal Archer and Skeletal Sorcerer adds will spawn periodically. They're squishy and deal very little damage, so they're mostly irrelevant. Skeletal Archers have the Arrow Spray ability, which is a conal AoE attack. Skeletal Sorcerers have the Thunder Throw ability, which teleports them towards a player, dealing AoE damage at their destination. Both of these types of adds will try to run away if you engage them in melee. Next we have Bone Cage. Paratius spawns an AoE under the tank, which will immobilize them if they don't move out of it. It's very slow, so it's easy to avoid. And lastly we have Skeletal Protectors. At 50% and 30% HP, Paratius will summon Skeletal Protector adds, which will channel a beam towards him, rendering him immune to all damage, until Skeletal Protectors are dead. He summons 2 of them at 50% and 3 of them at 30%. And here's a recording of the full fight. The next boss is Executioner Jerensi, which is a non-optional boss with a hard mode banner. Her first mechanic is Laceration. Jerensi strikes the tank 5 times over 4.1 seconds, after which she performs a conal attack. This conal attack stuns you if you don't block it, and it can be dodge rolled or even sidestepped. Starting in Veteran difficulty, this final conal attack applies a 32,590 healing absorb effect. Next is Swirling Darkblade. A circle indicator starts growing under random player, and after 2 seconds spawns an AoE, which stays on the ground and deals damage. In Veteran difficulty, it spawns on 2 players instead of 1, and in Hard mode difficulty it spawns on 3 players instead of 2. Next we have Death Knell. Jerensi deals damage to all players and applies a purgeable Condemn dot, which lasts 5.5 seconds, during which it takes 6 times. Death Knell also removes Swirling Darkblade AoEs. Make sure your health is high enough before Death Knell hits, and then purge or outheal the Condemn dot. Next we have Spike Traps. Spike Trap AoE spawn randomly throughout the fight, dealing damage and knocking you up if you don't get out or dodge roll while within them. Next we have Shadow Ward. Jerensi dashes away and spawns a huge amount of Spike Traps. At 80%, 50% and 30%, Jerensi casts a more powerful version of this mechanic, spawning Spike Traps that stay up limiting accessible area, casts Death Knell and then dashes away, and becomes immune while spawning a Swirling Darkblade AoE underneath her, and spawning adds. She spawns 2 adds at 75%, 3 adds at 50%, and 4 adds at 30%. She stays immune until the adds are dead. After the adds are dead, she will cast Execute, which spawns a yellow circle under a random player. In normal, this simply does damage, but starting in Veteran, the targeted player has to stack with another player to survive it. In hard mode difficulty, the entire group has to stick together to survive this mechanic. The Albus Torturer adds, which spawn during Shadow Ward, have the Blood Frenzy ability, which channels a conal attack towards their target for 12 seconds, that deals damage which starts off extremely low, but ramps up over the duration, dealing a lot of damage towards the end of the channel. So interrupt their channel with some form of CC, like a stun or a chain, or start blocking towards the end of their channel. The Albus Jailer adds, which also spawn during the Shadow Ward, can cast Jailer Chains, which is an interruptible channel, which stuns the target. And here's a recording of the full fight.
You won't stop us. I will ensure that. Get loose. We stand together. You fall. There's nowhere to run. I will crush the spirit out of you. Your interference is so too far. There will be no trial. To me! We'll never make it out of here. It's going to ruin everything. You are doomed, interloper. Out of my way! We will not be separated. No one escapes justice.
I will make you suffer.
Your fate is sealed. Die.
The next boss is Docent Domitius, which is an optional boss without the hard mode banner. Defeating him will grant you the Possessed Objects buff, which allows you to launch furnishings at your enemies when you bash. His first mechanic is Soul Shatter, which is a heavy attack with a 1.6 second wind up that leaves a ground dot, which damage ramps up the longer you stay inside of it. Next we have Paralyzing Wail. Docent channels for 2.5 seconds and then deals damage and fears everyone around him. Next we have Animate Orbiting Objects. Docent channels for 1.4 seconds, after which he summons furnishing AoEs that rotate in circles in the area. Getting hit by those AoEs stuns you, unless you're blocking. Long Vase, Cat Statue, and Person Statue furnishings will also additionally apply a Healing Absorb effect on you, even if you are blocking. Upon summoning these furnishings, Docent also spawns 5 skeleton adds, which are mostly irrelevant, as they deal extremely tiny amount of damage. Next we have Fixating furnishings. Furnishings spawn randomly and charge at players with the red indicator above their head. These will stun you if not blocked. Just like before, the Long Vase, Cat Statue, and Person Statue furnishings will also additionally apply a Healing Absorb effect on you, even if you're blocking. And lastly we have Reanimating Shards. Docent targets a non-tank player and spawns icy AoEs at that player's location. And here's a recording of the full fight. The next boss is Prime Sorcerer Vandorallen, which is a non-optional boss with a hard mode banner. His first ability is a Lightning Rod Slam, heavy attack with a 2.4 second windup that also spawns lightning strikes at each player's location when it hits. Next we have Stormbolt, a kite mechanic. Vandorallen spawns a huge lightning AoE at the furthest player's location, or at his own location if everyone is standing very close to him. While anyone is standing inside of this AoE, everyone is taking damage from chain lightning. Have the healer or a ranged DPS always standing far away to bait this mechanic out. Next we have Racing Flames. Vandorallen channels for 4.8 seconds, dealing damage in a cone in tank's direction and sending out fiery AoEs in all directions. Next we have the Black Spine Curse. Vandorallen puts a 20-second dot, which ticks 11 times, on a random player. If a player dies while affected by Black Spine Curse, it transfers to another group member for the remaining duration. With each damage tick, it applies a healing absorb, equal to 5% of your current HP. And then with Iron Charge. At 90%, 66% and 45% HP, Vandorallen spawns Iron Achnach spiders and mounts his horse, and then travels around the area, stunning anyone he passes through unless they're blocking, and spawning fiery AoEs. Iron Achnach spiders will combust upon reaching players, dealing oblivion damage. Simultaneously, Lucilla will spawn an icy dome at a random location. Chain the Iron Achnach spiders into the dome to make them take increased damage and make them unable to combust. The hard mode difficulty unlocks two new mechanics. First one are Simulacrums. After Vandorallen falls below 40% HP, he will start periodically summoning 3 Simulacrum mats, which will channel Inferno, which launches fireballs at random players. Simulacrums are extremely squishy and have only 95,000 HP. Second mechanic is Coruscating Orb. Vandorallen spawns 2 orbs on random players that deal ramping up damage around them and chase the closest player. Keep moving away from them. You can have a ranged group member walk close to them so they start chasing the ranged player and then kite them. And here's a recording of the full fight.
No one obstruct the Albus passage. Enough! To me, my steed!
Bring the spiders to the door.
Line up that wing! I command you! I'll trample any who stand in my way.
This storm will stop those spiders.
Be consumed by the darkness! I control the battlefield.
Those spiders are a problem. This will stop them.
Feel our pain!
The next boss is Eliana Albus, which is an optional boss without a hard mode banner. Defeating her will grant you the Mother's Rage buff, which increases your damage done by 25% for 10 seconds every minute. Her first mechanic is Pool of Grief. Eliana spawns an AoE under herself and another, smaller AoE, under the furthest player. Next we have Depressive Snare. Eliana shoots slowing AoEs in all directions. Next we have Shadowy Duplicate. Eliana teleports away, leaving behind a clone. The clone can cast Depressive Snare. Next we have Echoing Pain. Eliana teleports away and starts channeling a cone towards the tank. Getting hit by it stuns the player. You can also outrange it. And then we have Overwhelming Sorrow. Eliana shoots projectiles at all group members every second for 8 seconds. Block or out-heal the damage. And here's a recording of the full fight.
You don't belong here.
The next and final boss is Squall of Retribution, which is a non-optional boss with hard mode banner. Its first mechanic is Coordinated Slash, which is a heavy attack with a 1.3 second windup that stuns if you don't block it. In Veteran difficulty and above, it applies Hindered and Rattled when blocked, Devitalize if taken without blocking, and Enrages the boss if dodge rolled. Next we have Elemental Infusion. Squall of Retribution infuses itself with more elements as the fight progresses, which unlocks more mechanics. At 95% HP, it gains Fire Infusion. At 65% HP, it gains Ice Infusion. And at 32% HP, it gains Lightning Infusion. Next we have Vortex. Squall spins its blades around for 7 seconds, dealing damage to everyone around it while following the tank. Squall will choose one of its unlocked elements to empower this ability with additional effect. Fire Infusion adds the Hot Food effect. As Squall spins, it also shoots out fireballs at players, creating ground dots, which stay on the ground. Frost Infusion slows everyone's movement. Lightning Infusion causes it to also spawn Shocking Beam AoEs on players, which explode after a short moment, dealing damage. They can be blocked. Next we have 6 Sword Assault. Squall throws 6 returning swords, which deal damage on the way out and back in. Squall will also choose one of its unlocked elements to empower this ability with additional effect. Fire Infusion adds the Engulfing Flame effect, which shoots fireballs at all players. Frost Infusion adds the Frozen Ground effect, which spawns a ring on the outer edge of the arena, which deals damage and slows you down. Lightning Infusion adds the Shocking Discharge effect, which deals damage and AoE around Squall, as the swords go out. Next we have the Summon Atronach's mechanic. Squall summons Atronach Ats after falling below certain HP thresholds. Fire Atronachs spawn at 95, 88, 80, and 70% HP. Frost Atronachs spawn at 65, 55, 50, and 45% HP, and Storm Atronachs spawn at 32, 22, 16, and 5% HP. Each of these adds will drop an orb on death, which will ramping up group-wide damage, if not picked up with a synergy. The orbs have to be held for 15 seconds to dissipate, and they drop on the ground again if the holder dies. They also deal damage to the holder, based on max HP. If you try to pick up another orb while already holding one, you'll drop the orb you are holding on the ground. Fire Orb additionally deals damage around you, Ice Orb additionally slows you, and Shock Orb deals more damage than the others. So, focus the Yats, don't DPS the boss too fast or you trigger the Yat spawns too fast, and get overwhelmed with too many orbs. Next we have Firestorm. Squall spawns pairs of fiery tornadoes at 95, 70, and 50% HP, which stay until the end of the fight. Next we have Icy Flash. Squall deals damage to all players, and puts damage shields on Atronachs after a short delay. This mechanic will display a heavy attack indicator on all players, indicating that you should block it. This ability can only be cast starting from 65% HP, which is when Squall gains the Ice Infusion. Make sure to block it. Next we have Thunderstrike. Squall prepares for 3 seconds and then channels Shocking Beam for 5 seconds, which spawns Thunderstrikes at every player's location every half a second, so it takes 10 times in total. Thunderstrikes deal damage to the player and around them, so you should move away from other group members, so you only take damage from your own Thunderstrike. It can also be blocked. This ability can only be cast starting from 32% HP, which is when Squall gains the Lightning Infusion. And here's a recording of the full fight.
You know your task.
And that's it for this video. If you have any more questions, you can comment down below or join our Discord server Wildheart. As always, feedback will be appreciated. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe to my channel and check out my Twitch. Thanks for watching and see you next time.